That's the most dude thing ever. What are you, a dummy? Cool.
Yep. Here, spoke through the mic.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Sweet.
Oh, that's weird. All right.
Little bit because
Yeah.
when you get really breathy, it's kind of sexy.
You came up to me the other day, had to give me a spot when I was squatting, and you said gotcha. And I was like,
What does that mean?
I
I feel threatened.
either way. All right, cool.
All right, we're rolling. All right, DeepWater, episode 3. Welcome, and welcome to my special guest, good friend of mine, brother, Wes Shumate. I was waiting for the crowd.
Thank you, everyone. No, appreciate it. Thanks for having me over.
Okay, we've known each other how long now? How many years?
We were trying to figure this out the other day. I think 2 years before the pandemic, so since 18-ish.
2018, okay.
Yeah, when I first started coming around.
Seems longer.
I know. I get that.
You're one of those bros that it feels like.
Well, my wife tells me she feels like she's been with me longer too. I don't know if that's a compliment.
For many different reasons.
All awful. Yeah. No, it does feel like longer. Yeah, you're right.
So I want to, with you, I mean, I personally know a lot of your story,
Mm-hmm.
but I relate to it a lot. That's why we bros. But in the same sense, there's a lot of things also I know have shifted for you.
Yeah.
Even in the amount of time that I've known you. But I want to go I want people to know where you came from.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
46 for a couple more months.
Okay, yeah. So you're considerably younger than I am. 10 years younger, but also the way you grew up, I think was very, very similar. And I think just the points around that. I mean, you're a dude's dude, right? And the way you grow up was different than these kids are growing up now and this next generation and things like that. And the reason I think it's so important for people to understand your backstory and what you're doing now and things that you're pushing for in your career, because so I'll jump back forward a little bit. You're an attorney.
Yep.
You've been practicing law for
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah. I know it hurts.
A hot minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
And who's your firm you're with?
So I'm with Davis, Bethune, and Jones. So
Okay.
Grant Davis, Scott Bethune, and Tom Jones are the founders.
Okay. And what's your position with?
I'm a partner.
Partner in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trial lawyer, partner.
Yeah.
They keep me around. Carry heavy things, get things off of high shelves. Yeah.
You get paid no extra for that.
No. They like to say they hired me from the shoulders down.
Same reason your wife married you.
Yeah, absolutely. Carry that, get that, move that. Help. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that being said, you've handled some large cases, done some really good things for a lot of people. Been a champion / law hero for people that
Trying. Yeah.
that can't get for themselves. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and deserve compensation, deserve some justice.
Yeah. That's the goal. Let's go. So our firm we're a personal injury firm.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different types of personal injury firms, a lot of different types of trial lawyers, and our firm prides ourselves on being true trial lawyers. I'm lucky enough because those guys I mentioned before, Scott, Grant, and Tom, were successful enough in the past. We can be very choosy in our cases.
Okay.
We can take on things that we believe in always, and we can fight it to the end. I'm about to be gone for a month.
Yes.
Our client's a great guy, police officer,
mm-hmm.
who was in an automobile that had a defect and was in a pretty minor collision. It was a rollover, but it was a one roll. It wasn't one of those Hollywood scenes.
No, right.
And the roof crushed in. He's a quadriplegic. At 37 years old, he is going to spend his life in a wheelchair. And
yeah.
as we've talked about, this is our third time to go to trial on this case in 1 year because of 2 unfortunate mistrials, just things that no lawyers could control. The other side of this, they've got great lawyers. Our judge is amazing, but things happen. And luckily, because of where I am and those guys, we get to choose to keep fighting. And I know we'll get into it, but a lot of our fight has turned to focus. We do a lot of injury work, but it's turned to focus towards victims and survivors of sexual assault and violence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So that's what I want to pause on, like
Yeah.
where we are modern day, right?
Yeah.
So I want to go all the way back to like your childhood.
Yeah.
So you grew up where?
You're gonna say Mississippi because of the way I talk, but no, I grew up. I grew up in Northwest Tennessee, Union City. My family, my roots are in the Boot Hill, Missouri, or Missouri.
I was gonna say
Even my family will argue that one, but everything ends in to me. But yeah, I grew up there. Honestly, awesome family life. Dad's my hero. My mom's tough as nails. Still is. I'm still afraid of her. In a really good way. I had an older sister that used to
which
beat
is
me up.
horrible parenting according to like today's psychology, but
Yeah, no, man, it's awesome. It really is. And what we were talking, what I know you want to get to is the reason I said that is, we were taught growing up, you have to take care of things, and when bad things happen, you've got to stand up to it. And there's bad people in the world, and there's bad actors in the world, and there are bullies in the world, and people have to stand up to it. And we've talked about it. We're taught that way through different avenues. But honestly, I've talked about this. I've written about this. For some reason, I grew up in honestly a very blessed household with a blessed family, a community around me, and I fought so hard to screw it up along the way. For some reason, never feeling like I should have been successful like I was, or not to get too deep in it, but
you get deep in it, man. I think people need to hear stories like that, honestly, particularly other men.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, for years, I've fought against myself. I tried to screw it up. Nothing too bad.
Why do you think?
But, I know now because my good wife told me I probably should go talk to somebody professionally and figure it out. And there's a name for it. I can't think of it. It's where you feel like you don't deserve the success you have, right? Imposter syndrome.
Yep.
And somewhere along the way, I picked that up. And I joke around with people. I tell them I'm Forrest Gump in real life. I kind of just walk around, just kind of being a dummy, and good things happen. But I think I developed it earlier in my life just because it was the way I dealt with pressure. My sister is amazing, super smart. She was 5 years ahead of me in school. She's about 3.5 years older than me. That tells you how I started.
I was going to say, she 1 year older than you, but 5 years ahead in school.
Yeah, but she was valedictorian of her class. She fought so hard for it. I remember her getting up in high school at like 4:30 in the morning studying, and she worked so hard. My mother and my sister were both Miss Tennessee. They're both in the Miss America pageant. Just super successful. And for some reason, I developed this teenager. That's not me.
Not going to be good enough.
It was dumb because I had the support, but I did it to myself. And somewhere around 16, other things get your interest, girls, and football for me was a big deal, and those things had my interest, and I kind of started tanking my schoolwork, and but I always did enough to get to the next level,
get on the field,
and then I do enough to get to the next level. And I got a scholarship to play football in college, but it was an academic scholarship, even though I had like a high B average because I made really good test scores. And I got an invite to come play ball. Lost that scholarship like that. They had to give me an athletic scholarship to keep me on. Thank God for good coaches. Coach Johnson's at Lindenwood right now. He's a good guy. And then I got just enough by with some summer school to get into law school by the skin of my teeth. And a funny story about that is my partner Scott Bethune's my older cousin, and he has been one of my biggest mentors my whole life. He honestly, I hope he never watches this, but he is the success I was always chasing. If he can do it, I got to do it.
Yeah.
If he can do it, I got to do it.
Got
right?
it.
And I wanted to go to law school. Part of my Forrest Gump story is it took me 5 years to get through college instead of 4 like they say you're supposed to do. Kids out there take 5. But after 4 years, I was done playing football because I played my freshman year, sophomore year. And that was about 2000. And our congressman back home, John Tanner, was an old school blue dog conservative Democrat. And they call him conservative now, but he was the middle of the road, awesome guy. My best friend Adam's dad was his chief of staff back home.
Okay.
He got Adam on staff for the Al Gore campaign because we're Tennesseans, and Adam got me on because I didn't want to go back to school and not play football in the fall.
Okay.
I was part of the recount in Florida, the hanging chads.
They had you
chads.
count.
Yeah.
Because I've seen you count.
I know. I lost count a lot. But we really did. We went down there, literally loaded up cars in a car with 2 buddies, and we drove down, and we were everything you saw on C-SPAN, Fox News, CNN. Yeah, I'm in the background in those things, and my buddies. It was Forrest Gump. And even to the point where in Miami County, when the guys in the business suits ran in and beat down the door and stopped the count,
yeah,
I was right there. That's when we decided to leave and come home.
Yeah.
But through that, I decided I'm going to go to law school.
Okay.
And I called Scott and I said, I want to go to law school. And quite frankly, a good mentor, he said, you're probably not going to get in because I know what your grades look like. Take the LSAT and hurry up so I can get you some good letters of recommendation in. And I took the LSAT and I got really lucky and got a huge score on that.
So you say that and you're still doing it now.
Yeah, I know.
You're still doing the imposter thing.
Yeah, I know.
Because nobody took the test for you.
Right.
You weren't lucky.
I tell you what, here's what I see it. I got lucky because it's something I'm really good at doing. It's a logic test.
You're a test taker.
Yeah, I'm a test taker.
Yeah.
I'm a pressure person. I thrive off stress and anxiety and pressure. It's my fuel.
I get it.
So when you put me in a timed test,
grower, not a shower.
Something like that.
Put me under pressure.
I just focus, right? Right. I focus. So I did really good, and I ended up I got a scholarship to UMKC.
Okay.
Because of the Gore stuff, because the recount was really big news back then, right? It was huge.
Yeah.
We thought that's what a divided country looked like. Now look at us.
Right.
But I remember calling Scott, and I'm like, dude, you're not gonna believe this. I got in. I got a scholarship. Thank you so much for the letters. He said, oh, shit, I forgot to write the letter.
See,
story.
so again, man.
True story. It worked. My deal. Yeah, it worked.
Maybe some timing.
Yeah.
In there with the Gore thing
was.
and stuff. But also, had you not stepped up to do that, which was you stepping up to do it, nobody's, drug you into the recount and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Scott and I are really close, and we talk about this a lot. And some days I struggle with what the guiding force is in the universe, but it's there. I'm not so far into exactly at times. I change what I think about. I like to believe our shared grandfather is out there. I'm gonna get teared up. But it's always in those situations that it seems to come through, like the timing and the good timing and figuring out the right spots. And you think about every little choice you make. Shooting a gun, we both like shooting guns, right? If your sight's off but that much here,
depending on your range, it's going to be off 3 feet there. Yeah, for sure.
And that's your life path,
right?
So that's why I keep saying lucky. That's a lot of it, man.
Well, I think too. You talk about you're not sure what the source is. So part of it is your family. Everybody's got stuff in their family, right? Everybody's got stuff, but your sense of family and how you were taught sense of family, I think you have there's a theme that I see with you, that you, any case you take on, anybody you're trying to help, you take on as like extended family.
Yeah.
And you have this sense of, I'm not going to stand for what I would do, bullying of any kind. You're there for the underdog. And I think part of it, I associate with that as well. That's where I think, we also connect on another level, is from stuff we've been through. Mine, I think, is flipped. Mine is from a lack of sense of family.
Right.
But in the same sense, wanting people to have what I didn't and be able to protect people, and then also coming through under pressure, doing what has to be done. And then I've had that same guided or misguided, where's the beacon?
Right.
What's the beacon? What's the thing? And I feel like, what I see with you is I see you and your family. I'm gonna get choked up.
Yeah.
We've shared a lot of family stuff.
Yeah.
And watching your kids grow up, watching how you do what you do, career-wise, for yourself, as a father, as a husband, and the guidance you give your kids, and then, watching your kids with my kids.
Yeah.
I think a huge root for you is family.
Mm-hmm.
And the beacon. So, you talk about ancestors, and there's that. I think we're still of a generation close enough to where are you going to fill those shoes?
Right.
I had the same type of stuff. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, my dad, all the things they did, and just kind of laid in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, none of them were like braggarts, but they accomplished it under much worse circumstances. And I did the same kind of shit. Smart kid, don't do fucking schoolwork. I did enough to stay on the wrestling team, and enough to stay on the track team. And enough to get the scholarship.
Yeah.
And then
stay
walked away from it. Yeah. But that same thing of that imposter thing, and also that, am I going to outshine somebody? Like, it's that day you arm wrestled dad or grandpa and you beat him and you wish to God you hadn't, and you tried your whole life to do it, and then you wish you could take it back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
If there's that fear of what's it going to be like if I do surpass. But then you're coming up through, I've heard some of your college stories, and I've heard other stuff too. But being around the sense of family too, and you were speaking to your wife, Erin, about how she's, you made just a couple comments early on in our conversation here about, she guided you to this and guided you to that. How did you two meet?
We got set up on a blind date. I got out. I came to law school here.
Okay.
Back up a second. Erin grew up in Lee Summit, just right out the suburbs here. And at the time, I was leaving Murray State, where I played football. She's 5 years younger than I am. She was graduating high school here and going to Tennessee Tech in Tennessee to play soccer. And those were in the same conference at that time, kind of rival schools. And I had just moved back to Dyersburg, Tennessee, and Dyersburg's just south of my hometown. I thought I was going to come up here. I was going to clerk for Scott and those guys, learn what I could, and then go back to West Tennessee and be a John Grisham novel. Right? I was going to have my dog. I was going to have a coon dog named Waylon that sat in the office, right, and shoot a back.
This is where I think you're stretching, because you and the word novel in the same sentence. A book anything it is without pictures? Come on, bro.
No, they made all those movies in the books later. But I really, that was my vision for myself. I'd always see myself as a small town kid, and I loved it. And even the city's not super small, but it is. It wavers somewhere just under 10,000 people, and it's not near a city. And I want to get back to that. And I was there, and I had a lot of fun. And not to digress too far, but you asked.
Yeah.
Erin's dad Gary. Who's
Yes.
awesome. You met Gary.
Yes.
He's awesome.
Oh, awesome. Gary's awesome.
Gary.
So awesome.
By the way, Gary he's in his 70s.
Yeah.
And he's built like I am right now.
Yeah.
That man works out
Yeah.
every day. He's
Yeah.
got together. So Gary he was a plant manager who'd been transferred around since they're in senior high school. When Armco here in town shut down, he started moving around to different plants and running steel plants, wire rope steel plants. And he had just been transferred from Jackson, Mississippi to Dyersburg, Tennessee when I moved down there.
Okay.
And my first senior partner boss, Hubert Jones, who was awesome. Also, he noticed we had these law firm meetings every Friday morning at 7 a.m. And the Bull and Bear, which was the bar at the Best Western in Dyersburg, had their big night every Thursday night. Yeah. It was my buddy Bracken, and who had the hotel, and his business partners, one of which was a financial advisor, like Bull and Bear Markets. They opened the bar there.
Okay.
So that was Thursday nights. So I would come in on Friday mornings at 7 a.m. Still kind of hurting.
Yeah.
Still a headache.
Yeah.
And I know Hubert was thinking, I'm going to settle him down. So his wife, Miss Dolores, and my mother-in-law now, Elaine, set Aaron and I up on a blind date at my in-laws' house.
Blind date was at your in-laws' house?
Dude, I had to go to my boss's house and get in his car with he and his wife and drive over 400 yards to my in-laws' house and go in the house and meet my now father-in-law for the first time.
Yes.
And go sit in their kitchen while Erin was upstairs getting ready. I think she was talking to her ex-boyfriend on the phone, but she was getting ready. And then their neighbors. I should make a movie. So their neighbors,
at least a novel.
Her neighbors, who were also really fun people, was Abe and Kathy Hawat. And Abe is an immigrant from Lebanon. It's Lebanon and Tennessee. It's Lebanon. It's a country. Who was a restaurateur.
Okay.
Has a great steakhouse in Dyersburg, and his wife Kathy was from West Tennessee, and they lived next door. So they walked over. So now I'm in this room.
How old?
I don't know. It was in 2005. So,
okay.
26.
All right.
Let's say
you're almost a grown ass man.
Yeah, almost. So I'm in this room. Gary makes me margarita. And then he gives me another one, and then I realized he stole the recipe from Ponax, and they're really strong. And then we had to sit boy girl around the table for 2 hours and have dinner while they all watched and judged how we were getting along. And I forgot to get her phone number that night. And I called. You remember landlines?
Yeah. Yes.
With answer machines?
Yes.
I looked up her parents' number in the phone book. The next day I called and I said, Mr. and Ms. Downey, thank you so much for dinner. It was great. And Aaron, if you're still in town, please give me a call. This is my number. And she called me back. And
like the next day?
She called me back that evening.
Yeah, bro.
We went out on Wednesday night. Another crazy story I'm not going to tell you, but pretty redneck.
I think I've heard it.
Yeah.
Is this the one at the restaurant in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that story.
Yeah,
we don't have to share that one right now.
We went with my buddy who was at that time, I was doing his divorce and his new girlfriend. It was crazy, but they're awesome. And by the way, they're married and their sons are awesome. They're great kids. But that was in like April or May, and by June we were up here at a friend's wedding talking about getting married. And neither one of us were anywhere near looking for that. And that was, it's coming on close to 20 years now. 19 years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Forrest Gump, man. Everywhere I go, things just happen. Like,
I know what love is, Aaron.
Yeah. People talk about, I was saying, you fall into shit and come out smell like roses. That's
the exact same shit my mother used to say to me.
Yeah.
Every single time she'd get a call from the police.
Yeah. Right. And you were hanging out with them. Right, by the end, yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
But yeah, so and you asked me earlier too about like the way I grew up. So in our neighborhood growing up, my parents had a rule: don't ever start a fight, always finish a fight.
Yep.
And that was it, man.
Yep.
And my buddies and I grew up fighting each other
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We never had a calm discussion. Now I've learned how to do that, but we never did.
You get paid for it.
It was just what we did,
Yeah.
And it didn't matter size. I was a big kid, but it didn't matter size differences. Nobody cared. We were always fighting with each other, and I think back to that point from earlier, what we learned then that younger folks don't know now is it hurts to get hit.
Oh,
and it's
fuck.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was the other side of it. So my kids closest to my age were 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was the youngest boy in the neighborhood. My mom and dad's when I was 3, so only split family.
Yeah.
So little Johnny, mama's boy, 4 years younger than all the other boys, and went up from there. I mean, when I was 5, I was playing with 9-year-olds all the way up through high school, and I mean, I ran my mouth. Let's be clear. I ran my mouth, and I was a little shit, and I get the fuck beat out of me on dead. So I fought out of defense. I wasn't looking for any ever till once I started martial arts. Then
then you started.
I started looking.
Yeah.
Then a different kind of being a dick, but yeah, the fighting thing. Yeah, they have people today, the ability to hide behind a social media wall and run your mouth and say things and be rude, be all kinds of things. And they're the same people that want an HR department to protect them for the things that they do. In the same sense, feel like they can do and get away with it because there's no accountability, no consequence. Yeah. And I mean, I'll be very, very clear on this. Not everybody needs to be hit in the mouth for running their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But some people just need to be fucking hit in the mouth.
Yeah. Well, that's what it ended up. To take this meandering story back to where you were trying to guide it a minute ago, that mentality is why I think I fit really well in my role now. I have found a way through my role and my job, I can go hold people accountable when they do bad stuff.
Right.
And I don't have to use these. I don't have to. I don't need to. I mean, I pay you so I can come do that sometimes because out in the real world, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I found loopholes.
Right. But
I get paid to do it.
Yeah, but I can use what I've learned over time, and I can use our justice system, which, you hear all the time people down it. Our justice system's broken. No, it's not. Go do it somewhere else. Go to Central America or go to Asia. Go to some of those countries in upheaval in Africa right now. Our justice system is amazing. Now, it also allows us to whine and bitch about things that don't go our way. So that's why you hear people say it's broken, it's bad, it's awful. Mm-hmm. No, it's not.
Well, we're spoiled.
Yeah, and if both sides have attorneys who follow the rules and the ethical standards and follow the truth, and a judge who is fair, and in Missouri and in Kansas, I could say almost every time I've been in front of a judge, they've been great and fair. And that's not just ass kissing. I'm serious.
I guess you're not running for office, sorry.
Yeah, no. But when you have both sides equal that out, that's why we use scales of justice.
Mm-hmm.
The right result happens. Mm-hmm. It just happens because that's the way it's set up, and that goes for criminal cases. That goes for the civil stuff I do. When I started in Dyersburg, I was just dying to get work. I want to get in the courtroom, right? And so in my office, we had a lack of work when I first got there. They hired 2 of us right out of school. Martin Dunn, he's an Army vet guy, VMI guy. Martin, side story, super smart, got recalled to go back to Iraq after being out for several years and being in law school.
Mm-hmm.
And he petitioned. He said, "Well, I'm a lawyer now. Let me serve in the JAG Corps." And they said, "No, we need artillery. You're coming back." And he went back for a year. So at that point, I tried to scramble and find my place in our firm. And one way I did it is they didn't do criminal defense. So I went to every judge and I volunteered to take the overflow from the public defender system to learn it and to get the courtroom. Because I like to talk and be in front of people, right? And I like to fight.
And also too, and speaking to you too, not afraid of the work.
No,
and also not even just not afraid of it, but understanding that there's a process of taking on work to get where you want to be.
Yeah.
No handout.
Yeah.
You're not one of these today of why don't I make what you make? Because, well, you haven't fucking much time.
Right. Well, I tell you, so there's three things that are always in my head. Like late nights at work, when I'm away from my family, when things are really hard, and we're trying to figure out problems. I have these mantras I developed when I was playing football years ago. Because I was an average ass athlete. I was not a super athlete, you know. I played Division I football, but it's because I figured out a way. But I would always say, the easy ones, just do work. Just do work. If you can't figure out anything, any answer to your problem, just do work. It'll figure it out. Two, and this has to come from a coach at some point, but I can't remember who. And I hope I'll figure it out. But if it's got to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
If it's got to be, it's up to me. And I will repeat that too. I find myself doing it all the time like a crazy person.
Yep.
And the third, I have this written on the whiteboard in my office. I have it written in Latin, but I don't pronounce English really well, so I'm not going to try Latin. But when Hannibal was getting ready to cross the Alps,
yeah,
and he was, the whole story takes elephants across, and he was told by one of his generals, "There's no way this is impossible." And he says, "Either I'll find a way or I'll make one."
Right.
He didn't say,
"Right,
God, you're right. It looks cold. It looks tall. The rocks look sharp. They've got spears over there."
Right.
He just said, "Either I'll find a way or I'll make one."
Adapt or die.
Yeah, you got to do it. And I think a lot of people nowadays like to say stuff like that.
They have no idea what it means to do it.
You got to do it.
None. Yeah.
You got to do it. And I like to I like to respect the people who did the real work when it was really hard. Another great mentor of mine is my uncle. I've told you stories about my uncle Jake before. He's a sheriff's deputy. He's a Marine. He's in his 80s. He looks like he's in his 60s. But he came from dirt floors and no window panes in your glass.
Right.
He talks about his mom making egg gravy so everybody could eat off one egg, and he's made a hell of a great life for himself. And my papa came up like that. He was an apprentice pharmacist to his older brother, which meant he had to live like in the bathroom at his brother's house and get up before dawn to start the coal fires. But they made a great life, so I was pretty dang comfortable. I was real comfortable growing up. I had all the Tommy Hilfiger shirts.
Yeah.
I was preppy.
Yep.
And so when I think about it, I think about when it's time to do work, I don't mean like I need to go out and swing a hammer. I'm not good at that. I also found a way to work up here. But when it's time to go to work, this has to key in on what I'm doing. And I've got to sacrifice time with what I want to do, time with friends. And we never hang out.
I know.
Because we're working. And I have to sacrifice time with my family for my family. And I think
that's hard to do.
It is.
Because I think that's a pressure that men go through that I think a lot don't realize. Is that when we walk out the door in the morning, or I walk out off the mat in the morning, right?
Right.
When we walk out in the morning into the world, we are instantly under fire. And under fire, not by our families, not under fire like, oh, you're spending more time here. Not that. We feel an internal pressure because we want to do for everybody all the time. And we're actually the last one we're trying to do for.
Yeah.
We're trying to do for the company. We're trying to do for the business. We're trying to move it forward. We're trying to keep it taking care of as many people as we possibly can. To then also, we're better at that, then we're better at taking care of our family. We're providing and we're doing things like that. And then we have this pull of, I'm doing this thing, so I'm not over here. And nothing gets our 110% of attention. Yeah, that's the hat shift that is very, very personally hard to make sometimes. Walk out of here, go to home, be with the kids, take care of the wife, and it's not thinking about, you've got a law case, not thinking about the law case. How do I not think about it? And that it's
not going to happen.
Right.
What's going to happen is you're going to feel guilty.
Right. And then, and we feel guilty about it. And then we walk around with the shame about it.
Yeah.
And then our self-worth rolls in again. And it's like, this is where that imposter thing, I think, rolls in for a lot of men, because we're actually doing really well at all the things. But we know what 100% feels like when we're over here.
Right. And
we know what 100% feels like over here. And I think we are the worst enemies of ourselves in that self-reflection on, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah.
And then it turns into, well, then I'll just do more.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a cycle, right? Yeah. And yeah, no,
well, it's funny. Well, and we both married women who are geared with the same drive and
driven hard.
My Erin has been an Ironman athlete. She competed in freaking worlds. At the same time, so we came back to Kansas City so she could go to anesthesia school to be a nurse anesthetist.
Right.
She already had a master's in nursing. She was already a nurse practitioner, but she wanted more, and so we moved back up here for that. And thank God we did, because I got back in with my firm, and that has worked out really well for me and for us. But the day in 2008, I had told my job I was leaving. I had not taken the bar in Missouri yet, which I have to practice. I had an offer to come work for my firm, if I could make it work and be useful to him. I mean, because Scott, he was real sensitive about us we're cousins, and he was like, "Look, man, I can't just bring you on as family.
Right.
You got to earn it."
Right.
So I felt I have to show more. So I've got to pass a bar exam again. I've got to do these things. We were selling our house and getting another house in 2008, when the market was going to hell in a handbasket, and everything's going just wrong in the world. But we didn't have kids. We didn't care. We'll sleep in the car. Who cares? And then Erin came home from work one day and handed me a pregnancy test.
To be clear, not for you to take.
No, I did. It never worked out. But so then, I mean, and that's our now 6'1", 180 pound power forward daughter,
who's
Stella.
A stud in all her own right. Yeah.
But so we had a choice to make, and it was, do we stop? Do we back up? Do we just buckle down here with what's safe? And we didn't even talk about it. Like, we both knew there was the path in the road, and we just were like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And I moved up here, and Jim Gamble, good friend, realtor here in town, he was friends with Scott and Tom Grant. He let me live in an apartment above his garage over in Brookside while he helped me find a place to rent. And then Erin came up, and we just started at it. She got to the school, and the head of the school said, "You know what? This is too hard. You're pregnant. You should stop, back away." And then later,
she said,
"That's what she did."
I've met her.
She called me, and she was like, "This son of a bitch. You won't believe what he said to him. To hell with him." And you know what she did? She had Hadley during her third year of school. She had Stella while she was studying for finals on a Friday, and took finals Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday the next week, and aced them. I mean, and that's, our whole house is driven that way.
Mm-hmm.
And she honestly, she manages everything at the house. I don't do much.
That's, well, I mean, so for those that know out there, maybe we'll do my Erin, same thing.
Yeah.
House management, her business management, her two business management,
right?
And
plus,
same shit. She's
training like a Spartan all the time.
Yes.
Through every injury.
Every morning.
Yeah.
Injury after injury. Yeah. I mean, she does incredible stuff. I mean, and same. Blessed, lucky, Forrest Gump, same shit.
So I think honestly, we can talk about it, and all your millions of followers can see us talk about it. But I think honestly, the deal is, we're preaching to the choir when we're preaching to people who you and I are around.
Because it's our circle anyway.
Right.
And our circle's kind of tight. That's it's not huge. Right.
And it's a bunch of highly driven people who are a little bit misfits because we can't quite figure out what to do.
Well, I think what I've finally gotten over is I went through phases of this.
Yeah.
I'm at such a stage now, I truly don't give a fuck if and where I fit in anywhere.
Right.
I mean, I went through stages of that anyway when I was competing at a higher level and I was doing other things and now just almost 56, I'm like, well, I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, it's weird. I was getting to that point, and then, like I said, Erin has helped me. I got to be my Erin. I see your Erin more than here. My Erin got me to the point where she was like, she helped me figure out a direction to go in. She's how I came here.
Right.
To start training with you.
Right. She got you a gift certificate.
Because what I was doing is I was lifting and running alone for years. Ever since I quit playing football in college, I didn't want to be directed.
Right.
I want to be alone.
Sure.
And I think one of the most dangerous things you can be is alone with your thoughts all the time. It's scary.
Yes.
You get off on paths.
I think there's a time and a place, and I think there's even a time and a place daily to be alone with your thoughts and to do things on your own. But I think, I mean, not to put words in your mouth, but I think finding here was finding, I won't say a home, but finding a cave, cave with a similar tribe.
Yeah.
In it, right?
It is, and you know what? Like here, like at work, like at my life at home, like my life outside, is I think everyone needs that person around you to say, "Hold on, what you just said is bullshit. Check it."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like, and you know, another thing you've said to me all the time, and I'm gonna get back on the mat after this trial, but you know, on the mat, you always say to me like, "Hey, just because you can doesn't mean you should." Because a lot of times when I'm bigger and stronger than a lot of folks,
right.
But maybe I ought to conserve a little energy. Maybe I ought to actually use technique, and you know, that's one of those things. Back to talking about bully fighting and talking about dealing with situations around your mouth. You know, just because the First Amendment says
you can say something,
I can pipe off, doesn't mean I should.
No, because there are consequences.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with, I mean, a lot of things everywhere anymore is I think one of the baseline problems is accountability and consequences. And part of the fear that I think that I'm really down on a lot of men about right now is they won't stand up.
Yeah.
They'll see the thing that goes wrong and they won't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And if, you know, and not even just men, I mean, those in the powers that be know something's going wrong. Don't step forward. Don't say something. It's the worst thing you can do, right? Is to not take action on something that's going wrong. And that's where, I mean, like this will kind of, I mean, I guess segue into like where your type of law that you're practicing now. I mean, I've watched you go from, not that, you know, your law enforcement officer we just talked about, not that the and tell me if I'm touching on any of these that can't be talked about yet,
you're
but
good.
the train derailing stuff.
Yeah, that's happening.
I've watched those go, and all those people deserve as well. But where your, I mean, light heart gravitational pull of a more narrow focus has gone to, because we got to do a personal protection and self-defense thing together for the
AWL
for the ladies in Kansas City. And that was great. And I think you know, that direction of your time, your giving to a group like that is also, well, I think they're undermined as well. But then also the type of legal cases you're taking on now.
Yeah. So here's, so I mean, I'm still doing all the other cases.
Yeah.
And I still love them, and I still love my clients. You know, our clients really do become an extended family to us. But
I think if you're doing it right, they have to, right? I mean, if you're chasing the money, we wouldn't be friends. First off, you know what I mean? Just because it's not authentic. It's not where you're coming from, and that's where, you know, sometimes you'll share what you can with some of the cases with, you know, with that one that you've got me on with the. Yeah. Can we talk about that one? The school.
Not right now.
Okay.
No, but
a thing. That I'm on my side of it too is, you know, part of it that I've felt for you is that a lot of what I've done, and that's why we've got ISE Group on here, is that's my security company, because I knew we were going to kind of lean towards this, is a little bit is the space. I just wrote about it on this last week's blog letter on RevGym.com website blog. Wrote to it is being in the dark, you know, that staring into the abyss. It looks back, that approach of and you starting to take on some of these cases where I know you're going to have to start, your head's going to have to go some of the places that I've spent time. Mm-hmm. And I know how dark that can be, and that's another level of shaking shit off. But I also know it wouldn't be on your plate, in your hands, and coming from your heart if that wasn't what God meant for you.
Yeah. So so I say this a couple things just to frame the reference point.
Sure.
Here, is so my side of trial law. I don't deal in criminal law anymore. I did that a long time ago. I had some fun. Met some wild people. Saw some crazy things. I saw some people who had, death behind their eyes.
Sure.
Saw some scary dudes. But what I do now, on the civil side, just so everybody understands, you can't put a corporation in jail, right? You can't. You can't put. I don't want to name any. Globo Gym.
Sure. Sure.
You can't put them in jail for doing bad things. You can't punish them in any other way to hurt their soul or their conscience, because the corporation doesn't have that.
No.
The Supreme Court in the United States has said you have to treat a corporation as a person, but they don't have a soul, they don't have a conscience. What they have is a board of directors and investors and money.
Right.
So the way you correct action with a corporation is you hit them in their conscious center.
Right.
You go to that point, and that's why when you see verdicts and when you see things that look crazy big sometimes, like people always talk about Stella Lieback and the coffee case in New Mexico years ago, which is a whole nother hour discussion. Those damages, those things aren't always about just what somebody went through, although what she went through was awful. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It's about correcting action, because you can't put them in jail, you can't put them in reform school, but you can correct their action by hitting them in their bottom line.
Yeah.
So that's what we do on the civil side, and I'm really proud of the fact that I can say you can look at products around you, not just the stupid things like where it says don't stand on one foot on top of a ladder and put your finger in a light bulb, but like like in automobile safety, from seat belts to airbags, to stronger roofs, to braking systems, to anti-lock brakes. All that stuff came about through lawsuits.
Right.
It really did.
Right.
When we talk about this,
which goes back to accountability.
It does, and that's how you hold them accountable. And we talk about that with juries. But so what we're doing, what a lot of us at our firm are doing now on top of that is, we several years ago, and we've always handled whatever case we felt had a good purpose and cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've handled cases that involved sexual abuses in the past,
right?
Some with school systems, some with a psychiatric hospital here a few years back. We've handled those, but we got into a case a few years ago, and I don't want to get way into the weeds talking about just that particular case right now, but I learned some things. I learned some statistics that are terrifying. Every 68 seconds in America, someone is sexually abused in some way. Every 68 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't math well, but I know that's a lot. Of those, only about a third will be reported.
Right. If that, and that's based on that third, because I know these metrics because I deal with these metrics every day. Is that third is of those that are then after the fact willing to admit they didn't.
Yeah.
So you're actually looking at probably more like a fifth.
Yeah. Right. That's right. Because you have to look at the ones who didn't report it and then later say I didn't report it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we had a shift in our country, a really good shift several years back. And a lot of things politically, globally, in the news media, the Harvey Weinstein thing broke. Mm-hmm. The Epstein thing broke. Mm-hmm. It became news to talk about. Mm-hmm. And
higher awareness on trafficking of all kinds, children, adults, any kind of human trafficking as well. Yeah.
And through that, the Me Too movement came about, which is long overdue. And people in general in America started to see value in things that we were blind to because of our culture in the past. Shamefully blind.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, so you even see it in old movies.
Mm-hmm. It was what our cultural society was.
The boss grabs the secretary.
Sure.
Oh, come on, you don't mean that. You shouldn't dress like that.
Sure.
If you didn't want it, you shouldn't dress like that. And we knew it was wrong. I grew up knowing it was wrong, knowing, but now there's a more heightened awareness that one, it's okay to speak up.
Yep.
You don't need to be ashamed of it.
Right.
Two, I think we've all, through the news, and I'm not always a fan of the news. I think things get reported based on agendas a lot of times, but with this, it's not. With this, it is. There are reasons why someone could go through something as terrible as an assault or an attack and not try to stop it.
Sure. All kinds of psychological.
Fight, freeze,
sure.
Right?
Sure.
You
all
got
of
that. And there are reasons why somebody can go through it and not ever tell anybody about it. Hold a dark secret. And
all the same reasons that you've got imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Shame.
Things. Yeah,
guilt.
Things happen.
Whatever it goes, because anybody's past
Yeah.
can affect today's outcome. All
Yeah.
of that if it's not addressed. Yeah.
That's right. And so I've talked to clients who've been through these things, these sexual assaults, and they'll tell you, I didn't do anything. I stayed still. And I don't know why. And then I felt bad for staying still. And then I felt like it was my fault. And then I felt. And what I feel about that is it's important to as many ways and as many times as you can. Back to being men who need to say things and step up is we need to say it's okay. Let's talk about it.
Right.
And I'm not going to judge you when you talk about it.
Right.
And I'm going to believe you. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to get it out there, and it's not shameful. And whoever did this, that bastard needs to pay.
Correct.
Now, that's where we have to get it. Period.
Right. Well, and I think on the other side too is our approach to more education around it,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to empower everyone, women, men, and children, about being able to mitigate the situations, recognize what they look like when they're coming, how can we avoid them, and then if we have to do something about it, having the skill sets to then do that.
Yeah.
I said years ago, probably 30 years ago, martial arts, self-defense that works needs to be in the school system.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, I've heard you say many times, Steven Seagal should teach everyone. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
I almost peed. No. Yeah, but I mean, as a full circle, looking where our approach and you and I teaming up now to get skill sets prior to.
Yeah.
Recognize what's wrong, how to change the mindset, develop empowerment, and then backwards down, and not backwards, I mean end result down from where you come from, of then here's the voice, which becomes voices, and where those two things then meet in the middle, it's all empowerment.
Yeah.
And it's all, once again, back to accountability.
Right.
Back to who's taking the responsibility. Is there going to be a cultural shift? And right now where we are is we're in a mess of there not being a cultural shift.
Right.
And there's people out there that push back all the time when I throw metrics out there, push back all the time about, oh no, sexual cases are down. Oh no, violence is down. No, it's not. Because once again, this is the thing.
Right.
It's what the media, which is who it is controlled by, what they're releasing is all people are seeing. They're not digging and getting reports from security agencies that we work directly that are on the ground and all the time. And once again, it goes also back to what's still being reported and what's not. But the level of abuse that's out there, and abduction, molestation, rape, is astounding. And I mean, the work that you're doing now and the cases that you're taking on now, and I mean, even when we sit down and talk about it a little bit, you'll talk about we've got one person that's made the formal complaint, they're empowered, somebody else hears that, they jump in, and that's phenomenal.
Well, and that's I hate to go back to using this, but that's why of all movements in my lifetime, Me Too
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. It's one person says, you know what, I'm going to stand up because I can't take it. And then that happened to me too.
Right.
I can talk
Right.
now because
Right.
of this person.
Right.
And,
Right.
and
Right.
when you can find
Right.
somebody to have a
Right.
commonality,
Right. Right.
we're pack
No.
we're pack
And the part
animals,
that's
right?
in it that I'll only push back on a little bit is, as in there were also those
Oh yeah.
that were full of shit. But that's in any movement.
Yeah, everybody's
So
there's
people's
always
gonna-
going to be people that cry wolf, right?
Well, because there's dollar signs at the end of it.
Sure.
That's the part that also sucks, is where is your authenticity and where's your soul if you're the person that was screaming Me Too and it wasn't.
Yeah, I will say this: being on my side of civil trials and litigation,
Right.
there are the ones you see in the news, the big Hollywood things that somebody falsely does whatever. And first of all, that crap hurts everybody.
Right. That's my point.
It hurts victims.
It hurts
But-
a movement like that.
Yeah. The second point is though, it rarely really happens that way
Mm-hmm.
because in the real world, me as a lawyer, as a plaintiff's lawyer, that means I represent the people who are hurt. Right. The only way they can make that work is to do it on a contingency fee basis, right? Which means out of the total,
Right.
that is eventually settled for, paid in a judgment, I make a percentage of that. I don't get paid until I get that percentage. I can't take cases that aren't real.
Right.
I can't do it.
No, I get it.
Or we'll go out of business.
Right.
So,
Due diligence. Yeah, for sure.
I think, honestly, my mistrust of the media goes to that.
Yeah.
I think there are some things that are fronted and pushed to make stories
Mm-hmm.
in our medias and our social media. But I think at the end of the line, at the end of the day, we just have to focus on raising voices. And you raise the voices and you get out there. And when you do that, when we raise the voices, when we get the message out, that tells people what to look
Well, it's
for.
that whole we're not going
right?
to take anymore.
Yeah. Well, it
Right.
also, if I don't tell little John the child, hey John, you can't walk out on the street or the cars will run over you.
Right.
You're probably going to walk out the street when you're a child. You don't know that.
Exactly.
So if we don't help
Mm-hmm.
survivors and victims stand up and make their voices heard, then the next person is not going to know what to look for.
Right.
And that's where what
Right.
we're
Well,
doing
and
together.
then my side of it too is if we're in denial that it's going on out there as much as it is, and we're not giving tools out there to prevent it.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, when we spoke to that group a month or so ago, the key of it was situational awareness and avoiding. Like if you're going to get a massage, ask for a female.
Yeah.
Let's avoid it. If you're going to have to go in and see a doctor and you're not absolutely comfortable, ask for the nurse to stay.
Act on that. Act on what your sixth sense is saying.
And that's for anybody. I'm not picking on professions. That's for anybody. Trainers,
Sure.
lawyers.
Yep.
If you're not comfortable, bring a friend.
Yeah.
If you're going to get in a ride share, a Lyft, Uber, any of those, have a friend get in with you.
Right.
Have a buddy system.
And the pushback is always, well, I shouldn't have to do that.
Right. No, I know.
Here's the reality though.
Mm-hmm.
We're living in a society where you have to do that.
Yeah, everybody is. Everybody that lives around other humans is.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I don't know when people decided to start saying I shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any
Well, it's
damn
this I
sense.
deserve
Yeah.
as a human. And yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. You shouldn't have to. I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
But you have to.
Well, it's like, and I sure don't want to go down this rabbit hole, especially right now. But you and I have talked in the past about school safety and school violence and school shootings and the mass shootings, right? And we shouldn't have to worry about it, but you know what? We do.
Right. It's just where we are.
We also shouldn't have to worry about tornadoes knocking our houses down, but we do.
Correct.
We shouldn't have to worry about going through a metal detector and security to get on an airplane, but we do. And why do we? Because everyone knows evil's out there.
Because there's evil in the world.
It always has been.
Period. And it's not going away.
No, it's
This
not
is the thing I'm trying to. And you would think, statements you made in another podcast I listened to, that you would think in 2024 we would have this fucking shit figured out, But our human race has not been around honestly that long in the total
Right.
scheme of things. We're still animals.
Well, and what are we trying to do? I mean, we're animals, right?
Yep.
We are the most sophisticated right now.
Should be.
Well, right. But you know,
But we've also found the evil side of it has also found more sophisticated ways
Yeah.
to continue to be evil and more evil.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's psychological ways.
Yep.
I mean,
And there's more
brain-
money behind it.
Yeah, there is. And so I just think the more you hear we shouldn't have to, the more we have to say, look, we can't be like that.
Right. Well,
That's
because
not
it's a
the
form
world.
of denial.
Right. I shouldn't have to use an umbrella because I shouldn't get wet when I walk in the rain, but you're going to.
Yeah.
So let's get the umbrella.
Yeah.
Let's avoid going outside today. That works.
If you really don't want to get wet.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
If you don't want to get
Yeah.
wet. So,
Yeah.
you know, back to what I was talking about earlier is where I find I'm uniquely suited for the work I'm doing now is I get a sense of, I'm trying to use the right word. It fills my heart to know I can help people who are having trouble coming forward and stand up to a bully.
Well, a true sense of satisfaction and now I'm stuck on a word.
Yeah.
I mean, of gratitude. Even you have the opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I thank my clients all the time. Thank you for trusting me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it can't be easy
No.
for someone who's been through that to come talk to me. I'm a big guy with white in my beard. I'm a
Yeah.
middle-aged dude.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not somebody that outwardly is going to be. You're going to go, oh, that's who I want to talk to about this awful thing that just happened to me.
Right.
But I always thank my clients for doing that because when you give me that trust, I'm ready to go fight.
Yeah.
In the way I can fight. You know, not in the way.
I do it different. Yeah.
But you know, it's a thing that is needed, and when I talk to people about it, it hits me on a lot of levels because I have children I love, 2 daughters and a son, who I never want them to have to see these things. But by God, I've been talking to them about it since they're in preschool.
Right. And you shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
But you know better, so you do, which is, I think, part of the message of what we're trying to get out even today, is that you've got to talk about the darkness that's out there.
Yeah.
You can't bubble your kids, you can't bubble your family, you can't bubble your friends. If you're going to actually be genuine and authentic and caring, you can't avoid the hard conversations about the evil that actually exists and then avoid doing something about it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't want to have to be the person that speaks up later, do something now to prevent it. So that, because you really don't want your people to see it, they have to have the tools to know how not to see it.
Yeah. That's right.
And then if they do see it, also the tools to deal with it
When
in
you're
that
faced-
moment.
yeah,
Right.
when you're faced with it. And you know, I just think if we can keep getting the word out, if it's just you and I sitting here in your office and rambling in front of a screen at each other and kind of almost following a path, and somebody says, you know what, they're right, I can make my voice heard, then we win today.
Right.
And if through this that person tells a friend, then we win tomorrow.
Right. But it's that ripple.
Yeah.
It's that drop of the pebble in the water, and the ripple goes out. And it's people learning to take care of their own. Take care of your own, like the tight group we have here. We
Yeah.
take care of our own. It ripples out. We speak on the world. That's what this whole DeepWater is about. The podcast is about is sharing a philosophy, a psychology, a way of living, a path, and hoping it resonates.
Yeah.
With people, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know we got to cut, but I mean, this may end up being a 2-part. But brother, hey, I love you. I appreciate everything you're doing for your people and your family.
Yeah,
and thank you
Yes, sir.
for your time, brother.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, bro.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Peace.